Some people keep crossing your boundaries over and over again, and you start wondering if maybe you're just too nice. But the real reason is harsher than that. People don't walk over you because you're kind. They do it because you're predictable, easy to rush, and easy to guilt trip. And the scary part? You probably think you're being mature, calm, and understanding, while certain people are quietly running psychological circles around you. That ends today. But before we go further, quick thing. This is the kind of content algorithms quietly bury because it teaches people how to stop being controlled. If you value truth like this, subscribe now so you don't miss the next one. All right. This video is about 5 boundaries that turn you from easy to manipulate into someone who's simply too expensive to mess with. Not loud, not aggressive, not toxic. Just calm, solid, and impossible to push around. If you've ever walked away from a conversation feeling drained, confused, or slightly ashamed because you agreed to something you didn't want, stay with me. This might sting a little. Boundary 1. Stop explaining yourself to people who already decided to misunderstand you. This boundary alone can save you years of emotional exhaustion. Manipulators love explanations. They feed on them. The moment you start over-explaining, defending your tone, clarifying your intentions, justifying your choices, they know they've hooked you. Because now the conversation isn't about your boundary anymore, it's about putting you on trial. You say no, they ask why. You explain. They challenge your explanation. So you explain again. Now suddenly you're apologizing even though you were the one setting a simple boundary. Here's the truth. People who respect you don't need a 10-minute presentation to understand a simple no. I'm not comfortable with that. I can't do that. That doesn't work for me. Those are complete sentences. The moment you feel the urge to explain yourself for the 3rd time, stop talking. Silence after a boundary is powerful. It forces the other person to face reality instead of dragging you into a debate. And yes, they might act confused, they might act hurt, they might say you've changed. Good. That means the boundary is finally working. Boundary 2. Never make decisions under pressure. If someone is rushing you, they are rarely respecting you. They're trying to control the outcome. Manipulators love urgency. You'll hear things like, just decide now. I need an answer. Why are you taking so long? If you cared, you'd say yes. Pressure is their shortcut. It bypasses logic and pushes you straight into emotional compliance. Here's the boundary. You slow everything down. Anytime you feel rushed, your default response becomes, I'll think about it. Not maybe, not let me see, just I'll think about it. And then you take your time. You don't owe anyone instant access to your decisions. People who respect you will give you space. People who don't will reveal themselves the moment you pause. Watch closely what happens when you refuse to be rushed. Manipulators either back off or get irritated. Both reactions tell you everything you need to know. Remember this, someone else's urgency is not automatically your emergency. Boundary 3, stop arguing with people committed to misunderstanding you. This one is especially hard if you're intelligent or articulate. You think, if I just explain it better, they'll understand. But here's the uncomfortable truth. They already understand, they just don't want to. Manipulation thrives on endless debates, twisted words, circular conversations, and emotional bait. You argue for clarity, they argue to drain your energy. So the shift is simple. Stop trying to win arguments, start leaving them. State your point once. Calm, clear, simple. Then disengage. No raised voice, no paragraphs, no desperate attempts to sound smarter. Distance, silence, and consistency hurt manipulators more than the most brilliant comeback ever could. Arguing with someone who refuses to understand you is like pouring water into a bucket with no bottom. You'll keep pouring and still end up empty. Boundary 4, don't reward bad behavior with access to you. This is where many people sabotage their own boundaries. Someone disrespects you. They cross a line. They talk to you sideways. Then later they come back laughing, joking, acting like nothing happened. And what do most people do? They match the energy. They laugh back. They act normal.
Congratulations, you just taught them something dangerous. Disrespect has no consequences. Boundaries without consequences are just polite suggestions. You don't need a dramatic confrontation, you simply adjust your behavior. Less access, shorter conversations, more distance, less emotional availability. When someone realizes their bad behavior costs your presence, they will either adjust or disappear. Both outcomes are victories, because respect grows where consequences exist. Boundary 5, stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself. This is the hardest boundary of all. Manipulators survive on guilt. They'll make you feel selfish for having limits, cold for saying no, heartless for protecting your peace. They'll say things like, "You've changed. You're not the same anymore. You only think about yourself now." And honestly, that might be true, because you're finally healing. Here's the truth people rarely say out loud. Feeling guilty does not mean you're wrong. It means you're unlearning people-pleasing. Choosing yourself will feel uncomfortable at first because you're used to betraying your own needs just to keep others comfortable. But guilt fades. Self-respect lasts. These boundaries aren't about becoming cold. They're about becoming clear, calm, and difficult to manipulate. You don't need to announce them. You don't need to argue them. You simply live them. And here's the interesting part. Once you truly have boundaries, you won't need to defend yourself much anymore. People will feel it in your tone, in your timing, in how quickly you walk away. Manipulators don't attack strength directly. They look for weaknesses, leaks. These 5 boundaries seal those leaks. If someone gets angry when you set a boundary, remember something important. They weren't benefiting from your presence, they were benefiting from your lack of limits. And you don't owe anyone access to you at the cost of your peace. The real reason boundaries feel so uncomfortable isn't because you're weak, it's because many of us were raised to survive by being agreeable. Somewhere along the way, your nervous system learned that keeping the peace was safer than telling the truth. So when you finally say no, your body reacts like you're in danger. That tight feeling in your chest, that sudden guilt, that urge to explain, that's not intuition, that's conditioning. But something powerful happens when you hold the line. Your mind gets quieter. You stop replaying conversations at night. Your energy stops leaking into people who never valued it. And slowly you start trusting yourself again. And when you trust yourself, manipulators lose access. Boundaries don't just protect your time, they reshape your identity. You stop reacting to life and start choosing it. The ancient Stoics understood this deeply. As Epictetus once said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, let people misunderstand you. Let them be uncomfortable. Peace is far more valuable than approval. When you start setting real boundaries, you gain clarity, self-respect, emotional stability, and quiet confidence. Not the loud kind, the unshakable kind. And once you experience that, you'll never want to go back. The comment of the day goes to Geeta Hussain, who wrote, "Thank you for sharing this. My heart goes out to everyone who has experienced these struggles since childhood. May God heal us all and replace our hardships with something better." Thank you for sharing that. It's a powerful reminder that these struggles are more common than most people realize, and recognizing them is the first step towards breaking the cycle.